right. How you doing, my man? How you feeling? How was the shrimp cocktail?
Oh, shrimp cocktail, man. That one gets to me. In the past, I don't know. This year, I don't know if they had extra sauce. They had a little something extra kick to it, but man, I was getting teary eyed from it this year. Last year, I remember I took one for those that don't know. We're talking about St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail in Indianapolis, a staple over here. I had one night, but maybe I didn't have that much sauce, and I was like, oh, it ain't nothing. And then the next day, they were handing out samples at media availabilities. And that one got to me. I was like in the middle of the whole room, just like I had to stop.
They got me the first time I went with Jason Cole. It was Jason Cole. It was Alex Marvez.
Nice.
God, I don't know. It maybe Darlington was on the beat at that time. But it was like 7 or 8 of us, right? Back in the days when we used to be able to really cover the Dolphins, and a lot of people on the beats used to go, those days when there was more money available. Anyway, so it was a big group of us, and it was my first time. This was over 20 years ago. And Cole's like, oh, yeah, no, you got to try the shrimp cocktail, but you got to try it, the sauce, because you got to lay into it. And I had no idea, dude. And I'm a huge shrimp cocktail guy. I have it every time I go, but I'm prepared now. And I'm treating it like regular shrimp cocktail sauce, and boom, bop, and my eyes just lit up and cried and everything, because that thing, it opens, because it's like it has wasabi in it.
Right. It's the
wasabi cocktail with wasabi in it, because it opens up your pores. Like, brother, you can breathe really well once you have that shrimp cocktail. So yeah, I got, and then I've gotten several people over the years as I take them over to St. Elmo's, and when they don't know what the shrimp cocktail sauce is, but
get their reaction.
But it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, it is freaking phenomenal.
I feel like I think it is akin to a non-drug addict way to experiment.
Yeah,
because you're feeling these weird sensations that you can't control. No, and it's only for a few seconds, then it goes away. But
it's, by the way, you do know that right down the street at Izzy and whatever, it's
Harry and Izzy's. Ate dinner there last night.
Okay, you know it's the same owner, right? It's the same company, and you can get the same shrimp cocktail there and all that.
Right?
Stuff.
Yeah, I saw it on the menu and everything.
Yeah, because I tell people sometimes, hey, man, if you don't want to make the line and go through all the craziness, and maybe it's a little bit more expensive what you're going to buy there, just go to their sister, restaurant, and you can have the same shrimp cocktail, and it's probably a little cheaper, actually, So
I'm pretty sure, draft week, you need a reservation, because, I mean, those places are packed all dinner times. So you can't find it. You go from like 5 to 9 p.m. and then you won't have any spots open if you haven't reserved something ahead of time.
They still have the upstairs open at St. Elmo's, the bar?
Oh yeah, right. Oh, so many rooms. It's because it's like you go upstairs, you go down like a hallway of dinner tables, and then you go across another hallway with a bunch of pictures of famous people that have been there. Another room that's set up similar, another stairway, and another back room. It's wild of it. I love their setup.
Yeah. Well, because it's old school. It's an old school. You had to build it. You had to build within it that way, because it's just the way it is. It's like buying, a house in Little Havana. You're going to have closets about this size. And so, there's no such thing as a walk-in closet in Little Havana. It's closets that are you can fit like 3 shirts, and then you got to go find another closet.
I think if you have a walk-in closet in Miami-Dade County, it's an efficiency, and then you just rent it out to somebody.
Right. Basically,
for like $2,100 a month.
Yeah, you can do that. That's that will definitely work out. All right. So, what have you learned this week from the Dolphins? What's your gut tell you about something? Give it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the top of my head would be Tua Tagovailoa. This contract it seems like it's getting done, and he's going to get paid the big money, bigger than we talked about on here. So if people who are hopeful of the $45 million, then I think no, it's going over the $50 million in average annual value, and and then it'll reset where the Dolphins stand. It'll help in the short in 2024, but then after that, it's going to get more difficult for the Dolphins to make other maneuvers in future off seasons.
Well, that's how it always is.
Yeah.
Anytime you sign a quarterback,
yeah.
You want a quarterback or not? And so I'd rather go with Tua than what I've had here the last 30 years.
Yes.
I'm pretty fine with that. And I understand, at first I had my own trepidations about giving him a long-term contract right away at the end of the season, but I quickly changed my tune because one, the team needs the cap space. Two, people are freaking out about giving him $50 million. That's what every starting good quarterback is going to end up getting. And really, his deal 3 years from now will not look, ridiculous because of the pace that these contracts are going. It's only going to get, it's the same thing we used to say about Goran Dragic's contract when they first signed him, that kind of stuff. And then after you realized, oh, really, 2 years in, you're like, oh, yeah, no, the market is way ahead now. So the Heat was ahead of that. And I think that's what's going to happen here. You're not paying him like the top quarterback in the NFL, but you will pay him a pretty penny because it goes comparable with his stats to Justin Herbert's stats. You want to compare him? They gave Justin Herbert the money. Why aren't you going to give him the money?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He wins more than Justin Herbert. So what the hell? He wins more against Justin Herbert, by the way. Isn't he 2-1 against Justin Herbert?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you gave Justin Herbert the money, and if you're giving, Kirk Cousins the money, and if you're giving all these other guys, why aren't you going to give Tua? That's what the agent's going to say. But listen, this conversation is only dictated by one thing. If you weren't a believer of Tua, you're the one that's going to be complaining about the contract. If you were the believer of Tua, which is the minority, right, or maybe half, you're not going to complain about the contract because you're going to look at the last 2 years and say, this guy was in the MVP talk. We even had a quarterback post Marino. They've never even considered him to be in the MVP talk. Never, no quarterback that's been here. So, you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And then you look at contracts like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Those were set out a couple years ago, and then they are now just being thwarted by the contracts that we have now. So those two were like average annual value in the mid 40s. So then now last offseason, that's when the four quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson all hit over 50 in average annual value, sort of breaking that barrier. So then, yeah, now it makes sense that to be in line with that going forward, then yeah, top of the line comparatively is what you'll need, and then that will soon be outdated. And then in a couple of years, you're seeing way bigger contracts for every guy that comes up.
I talked about this yesterday. I thought Greer sent everybody a message. If you really listen to what he was talking to you guys about in that roundtable, he gave you nothing on everyone, nothing except Tua.
Right.
Notice how Tua
and Jalen Waddle. But we knew. Yeah.
A fucking stupid question. Okay, it was fucking stupid to be asked. It was fucking stupid to be brought up. It's just stupid to be a part of a conversation or any article or any kind of rant or anything like that. This is just people following Mike Tannenbaum's stupidity, because that's not even, brother, I don't even put that at any weight on that shit. So really, he told you there's urgency. He wants to get the contract done, hopefully before before free agency or the draft. He said, I think before free agency, right? If not the draft, but we'd like to get it done or some crap like that.
No, for the Tua contract, no timetable. So he didn't have a timetable on it.
But all right, he didn't have a timetable, but he said that it's something that we'd like to get done or whatever.
Oh yeah, this offseason for sure. They want to get done. Exactly. Yeah, they don't want him to play on that 5th-year deal.
Right. They didn't say that about Rob Hunt. They didn't say it about Connor Williams.
Right.
They didn't say that about no other player whatsoever. And then the other thing is, he didn't say, if you're expecting Chris Greer to ever shit on a player on the way out, he's never going to do that. So the whole X thing, yeah, of course, no, hey, you never close the door. Of course you don't close the door, because if he wants to come back on low-hanging fruit, they'll bring him back on low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean? So it to me, he was typical Chris Greer. He told you nothing, but for one player, Mike McDaniel sent the message, Chris Greer sent the message. Tua's here to stay. Everything else is pretty much in the gray. You don't really know. You and I can guess. Rob Hunt is coming back. No, they're going to let him go. Whatever. We can argue about that kind of shit. But the Tua stuff, is that how you read it too? Nothing on anyone else, but Tua, you knew exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, the only others. Well, now the X comment was interesting because it wasn't even something on my mind right as the release is happening. Oh, and we'll be willing to bring him back. So that was interesting just to hear him say that. I know what you're saying, that then it would be a low hanging fruit situation where he finds out. All right, the market.
Dude, they'd be willing to trade for Jonathan Taylor. They'll be willing to sign Dalvin Cook. They're willing to do all those things.
Mm-hmm.
The part that people didn't understand constantly, that I kept sending the message, it's at their price, not what, all these people are right. Oh, they're dying to trade for Dalvin Cook. And I'm like, no, they're not, dude. They're going to wait for low hanging fruit. They're not going to pay for the guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing for other guys. This is kind of the same thing for X. Would they like to bring him back? Of course. But it's going to be at a majorly reduced number if he wants to come back. If X is chasing money because he's got all those baby mamas, I think those days are done here in Miami.
Yeah. But as far as Tua and the original question, I think that just speaks to how they've always wanted to instill that confidence, especially since Mike McDaniel got there. But then even the offseason where they were hiring a head coach after Brian Flores, it was all about the confidence. And I think that's what made Mike McDaniel, or one of the aspects that made Mike McDaniel such a formidable prospect for the coaching job in that search that year, was they knew he would go about it this way. And even then, like Chris Greer, when they put out the statement that offseason that we're looking to stick with Tua, that was after 2 years when he was under Flores and everything else. So every offseason, that's been consistent, is showing that confidence in Tua. And then, you're right. Everyone else, it's kind of, it's up in the air, things like that. And although, except, Tyreek Hill, a world-class talent like him, and you're dealing with you're putting up with a bunch of off the field incidents as well, then Chris Greer didn't want to comment on that, looking for more information, but still adding, though, that he's a great player. And honestly, when you have a great player like that, then you're going to put up with more of the off the field drama.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, you've been able to walk around and hang around at night, and have you been able to gather any information or gut feeling on outside of Tua, who's staying and who's going? You got anything on that?
Who's staying and who's going? Well, man, I found this is stuff that I can't put out there, but I was told very off the record. Something you mentioned, the Jonathan Taylor trade talks, and I found out an interesting player from the Dolphins was potentially in the talks, but I can't name him. I can't do it, and I don't have enough sourcing on it to back it up. It would just be a rumor at this point, but it's something I can't fully go and put out there, but it was very interesting to hear. And then I know you want to know about Derrick Henry. I mean, I'm hearing the Titans are going to try to do whatever they can, but it's going to be tough.
That's all horse shit.
They know they have work to do there. So
he's gone. He's gone unless they tag him. Right. Unless they tag him, but he's gone. He doesn't want to stay there. He knows they have no shot at winning a title. You're bringing in a new coach and new everything, and they don't have a quarterback that's ready yet right now. You don't even know if Will Levis really is the guy yet. So there's that's all smoke and mirror. I'm talking about our own guys.
Yeah.
Connor Williams.
To that point, just to finish up on there. To that point. It was put to me from someone actually in the Titans organization that they know they have work to do there, but they want to bring him back. But know they have work to do essentially. So when someone from there is putting it like that, they probably know it's a long shot to bring him back. So
Why would he come back?
yeah,
It's stupid for him to come back.
yeah.
It's ridiculous. Why? Just because to finish out your Titans career? No, dude. It's you gave them the world, bro. You have carried that franchise for years now. You know what I'm saying? It's time for you to go somewhere where you're complimented, where the quarterback compliments you. He's never had a quarterback that compliments him. And that's his problem. He has to carry the quarterback in the entire offense. He needs to go somewhere where they actually have a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, in a real offense. And that's why I think Miami, but I'm saying Rob Hunt and some of these other guys.
Yeah, I mean, nothing that has shifted where I've stood on them. I mean, I'm still thinking Christian Wilkins. I'm leaning towards yes. I know. So we have sort of that. Maybe we'll call it a playful bet up where you've been on.
No. The extra money now in the cap. I think there's a good chance now he gets tapped.
Yeah.
There's
that's a big.
I stand by if there wasn't the extra money, I would stand by my statement that he's gone.
Yeah,
but because of
fair.
the extra money. Yeah. When that happened, I told Sean actually asked me that moment it happened. I said, you know what? Now the Dolphins are going to pull the dick move. They're going to tag him because, again, I'm not in the cap crisis hell department that some of you media guys are in. I'm not into that. Miami's cap is very manageable this year. It's so manageable that what happened with the cap, now I feel they can actually tag him and still do whatever the hell they want to do. So, to me, I think now, because unless you're convinced you can replace him in the draft, unless you're convinced you can replace him in free agency, you're better off just tagging him if you can keep him under the space for 1 year and then move on from him. And then you can prepare. This year, you'll go after a linebacker. You'll go after another corner. You'll go after an offensive lineman or something. And then next year, you could go after the defensive tackle when you have your full allotment of picks and you let go of Wilkins, that kind of shit. So that's why I think now with the increase so much in the cap, I think now there's a possibility that he can get tagged. If there wasn't, I would have stuck to my guns. No tag, and I'm still sticking to my guns. There will be no long-term contract. I'm ultra convinced of that one. I've been ultra convinced of that one from the get-go. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's fair on Christian Wilkins. So I'll give you that. I'm not going to call you out for flip flopping because I think that is a fair assessment. In changing your opinion on that, and then previously, so not too much as far as maybe shifting my opinion on what we've previously stated on all the guys. So if that means Rob Hunt, because I've always kind of felt one and not the other between Wilkins and Hunt, but there is the extra money that you're speaking of. So that could maybe possibly, I would have to do all the calculations, but if there is a way, then maybe Rob Hunt could still stick around, but I've kind of felt it's going to be tough to bring both. So if Wilkins is one, then I would say Hunt as the other. No, I think Andrew Van Ginkel is just such an important piece. And especially Greer spoke about just the uncertainty at the edge rusher position, and that we all know. And I think the Dolphins have to operate this way in this upcoming month. And at top of the list would be to bring back your own guy that you know and you are comfortable with. And of course, there's the question of Jerome Baker. And so Greer said that the new defensive staff will basically have their say in bringing him back. And financially, the prudent move would be not to at the price he's at. If he can come back on a much cheaper deal, shake him down, then I think that would be fair. But something's got to happen there on Jerome Baker, of course.
Oh, he's gone. It's just, but you have to have an injury settlement there, correct? If I'm correct.
Well, he has no guarantees for 2024. So,
but because he's injured, I think there has to be some kind of an injury settlement, right?
The way an injury settlement.
Huh?
You're saying, the waived with an injury settlement.
Yeah. So they have to. That's why I think you're not, because somebody asked me, hey, how come the Dolphins haven't made any moves? And I said, that's because you've got to wait till after the combine. Next week now, you'll start seeing the cuts, and we'll get, as they position the following week for the start of the league year and free agency and all of that. So you're expecting the cuts and everything to happen next week, you would imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah, and also they have to get under the cap by the start of the new league year, March 13th. So, and the Xavier Howard money doesn't help in that regard either, because that would be a post June 1 cut. So money doesn't hit until June 1. So they still have about 29 million to get under there. So a lot of restructures to the high priced contracts that they're on the books for, converting base salary into the prorated bonuses, spreading out to hit. That'll go a long way too in getting them to that number.
What they only have one franchise tag they can use, correct?
Right, right.
Is it worth using the other tag on either Wilkins or Hunt?
You say, wait, the other tag?
The transition tag, whatever?
The transition tag. Well, then you leave yourself open a bit more, as opposed to where if you just franchise them, and it's a. I gotta look at the numbers, but I think it's like a $3-4 million difference in Wilkinson's case, as far as what you save. But then I think Wilkins, another franchise would probably go give him the money he's looking for, in that regard. And then you would have a right of first refusal, and to match, but. You would leave yourself open then, and someone on the market would probably give Wilkins what he's looking for.
Yeah, because I would think you wouldn't do it with Hunt, because then somebody definitely will scoop him up right away.
Yeah.
Wilkins, still, it all depends if you feel he's worth it. To me, I don't feel. Do you feel he's worth big money?
You're saying Hunt or Wilkins?
No, not Hunt. Wilkins.
Wilkins. Yeah, big money as far as you see. I wouldn't go top of the line like all like the elite defenses. I want to go just a nudge below, similar to Tua.
He wanted Williams money last year, dude.
Right.
He wanted Williams money, so he got sacks this year. So that's why I'm asking you. He's going to ask.
The bar's only moving for him when he got those sacks. So that was the thing that was holding him back in negotiations last offseason for sure. Is that every other big defensive tackle that had gotten their big contracts, their big money, they had the sacks to go with it. And Christian Wilkinson's previous career high was a 4.5 sack season. So he didn't have that interior pass rush on his resume. And then he doubled that high with 9 last season. So the numbers that end up talking, even though, as you've stated, a lot of them were sort of some gimme sacks and, not in the big games. But at the end of the day, it's the number that's there.
Yeah, no, I'm with. Hey, listen, here's my reasoning. I'm not giving you top of the line money. I give top of the line money to people that you have to game plan for. Nobody game plans for Christian Wilkins. Nobody. And so to me, if you're not the guy they game plan for, then I can't give you that kind of money. You game plan for Tyreek. Yeah. You game plan for the corner. Yeah, you better game plan for those guys. You game plan for Derrick Henry. You know what I'm saying? Certain players you game plan for. And Christian Wilkins is not a player that the offensive unit is, we got to get this guy will wreck our offense. No.
And it was telling that, Zach Sealer got his money last offseason. And so as those talks with Wilkins last year didn't go anywhere, and Dolphins made their offer, and Wilkins felt he deserved more. And then they said, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and secure Zach Sealer at a more affordable rate. And Zach Sealer, actually, he had 10 sacks last year. So for Wilkins at his 9, Zach Sealer even one-upped him at a much
had an interception and a touchdown, too.
Yeah, touchdown, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah.
Big moment, too.
Yeah, Sealer's been the better player. Actually, right. and he gets paid half the money that less than half the money this guy's asking for.
Right,
less than half the money. Yeah, that's the other thing about you're overturning the cart there a little bit, because Zach Sealer's next to you, outplaying you almost, and he's getting paid half. That's why it's very dangerous also paying him that kind of money. That's why I'm convinced they won't give him a long term, but they will help themselves by tagging him for one more year if they don't think they can replace him. That's kind of
I think you go the 2 routes, whether it's the tag and then it's just 1 year and you play it like that, or then if now the long-term deal probably wouldn't be what you want from the Dolphins perspective, but then it could help them in the short term 2024 cap space. But then you're really digging yourself deep in future years, especially once you're also already paying Tua. So there would be a lot of challenges in future seasons, but that would provide relief for this offseason if you want to really just make it a one big shots sort of 2024 season.
I like to take things as as they come and not get ahead of myself on certain things.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are, and one of them is this. Well, what do you think they're going to do in the first round? Well, I don't know yet. I got to see what they do in free agency first.
Yes.
Then I can figure things out. Okay, having said all that, I don't want to get too much into that like that. But from what you've gathered with the 21st pick, what is going to be the kind of positions that might be healthy enough to be there at 21 for the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, offensive lineman, possibly a third receiver. Although I was just in media interviews for prospects, wide receivers were talking. LSU wide receiver Brian Thomas, who had been in mocked there. The Dolphins haven't even talked to him. No formal meeting with him. So here at the combine, so that was intriguing. They might be looking at.
I would go for a receiver. I would go for a tight
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
But
I always found
Bowers
right.
is the only one, and there's zero chance that he gets out of the top 10.
Yeah. Right, and I think I've seen it mocked where 15 to the Colts, where if he drops that far, which I agree, I don't see it. He's just too good of a prospect. But if somehow that were the case and that happened, then maybe could the Dolphins move up? Chris Greer is not ruling out a move up, a move down. He's always willing to wheel and deal. So if he gets into that range, then and you have a prospect like Brock Bowers who. Would be comparable to the impact Sam Laporta had for the Detroit Lions this past year as a rookie, if not maybe even better, because I think he's a better prospect right now going into the draft than last year. Laporta obviously had a tremendous season, but then, yeah, you might want to just go ahead and go for that home run of moving up if it's a reasonable amount to get a guy like Brock Bowers. But they could also trade down, and then you end up, because you have a big gap between your second round pick. You don't pick in the third, don't pick in the fourth. Next one is in the fifth. So trading down could offer you more picks in the middle rounds if there's a lot of prospects that they like at whatever ends up being still positions of need going into the draft. A lot of that, like you said, will be settled here in this coming month of March in free agency and with any trade potential.
You look at the NFL, San Francisco, they use the tight end, right? They got a pretty damn good one. You just mentioned Detroit.
Right.
Got themselves a pretty damn good tight end. Dallas Cowboys got some good tight ends.
The whole Final Four.
Yeah. Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
They have a tight end. Kansas City Chiefs. They have a tight end.
The Ravens with Mark Andrews.
Baltimore Ravens have a couple of tight ends because the Likely kid did a nice job after Andrews. Mm-hmm. Buffalo Bills use a lot of tight ends. And then the Dolphins, the guy that coaches it, has been in an offense that has always been heavily used with the tight end. Now, they went for Waller the first year. And as I've said many times over, Laporta was the guy that they targeted last year, and they couldn't get to him. I think they will, but the question is what's available in free agency and then what's available in the draft and all that. But Miami has no shot in the draft at 21 because there is no tight end worthy of reaching for. And the Bowers kid, there's no way he's going to fall that far. You know what I'm saying? That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It'd have to be a situation where he falls just to a reasonable spot to trade up into because, it's just he's not obviously not falling to you at 21. Get that out of
it's a position
of in their mind.
And it's an important position in the NFL nowadays.
Yes.
The better offenses have a very productive tight end part of it. And I know the Dolphins want one badly. That's why when, a lot of people in the media too talk about a third receiver, I think they're missing the boat. They're not going to spend money or a draft pick on a receiver when they have all that money tied up. They're going to spend it on a tight end because that's a different mismatch that they need on the field. The bigger receiver, the bigger target for Tua. That's the other thing. You need to start getting bigger for Tua. You can't keep it can't be the Oompa Loompas playing on offense all over the place. you got to add some size, bro. You know, Gesicki was good to high point, yet McDaniel was ignorant enough that he couldn't work him into the offense. You have to find a way, Chase Claypool, whatever it is, but you need to add an Aronde Gadsden type of, effect to this offense. And the position that you can do it in is at tight end. And so that's why, to me, tight end will be a priority this offseason. They have to find a way to get a tight end. Yeah. Do you know right now what's the list of free agents? Because we haven't found out who's going to get released too.
Yeah, there's that. But one guy I was going to bring up is after Bowers and Jatavian Sanders, might be the second tight end in this draft. But obviously there's a drop off after Bowers, so let's get that clear. It's not a deep tight end draft class, so it's kind of Bowers or nothing in a little bit. But Sanders is a 6'4" guy, receiving guy. He can block when he's out on the perimeter, so that could be good for the wide zone scheme. And I found it interesting when I was talking to him at combine interviews that he really liked meeting with the Dolphins and specifically meeting with Mike McDaniel and seeing how similar he was to how he is on TV. So clearly he watched Hard Knocks. So that is telling, though, that Mike McDaniel was speaking to this tight end specifically. So obviously he's not a first rounder, but if, let's say, with the second round pick, if you've already addressed a lot of other things and you still have tight end sort of pending, then possibly a target there for the Dolphins.
All right, what are you working on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, my friend?
Yeah, I actually wrote about those two tight ends just yesterday. Tua contract, what it could look like, everything that Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer have tackled this combine. Just a very busy week, and then I'll get into some prospect stuff too. Maybe write something about local prospects here who have mentioned talking to the Dolphins and what it would mean to play for the hometown. There's a lot of those, as there always is, because South Florida produces a lot of talent. So, trying to also get some of the prospect stuff in there too, because that's going on at the combine. But we've all obviously tackled all the big build up to free agency headlines and everything Chris and Mike were talking about this week.
All right, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, as always, thank you, my brother. Have a fantastic weekend and safe travels.
Thank you.
You got it. There you go. The great David Furones. And, of course, Welt and Rheaume. Folks, come on, man. Let me tell you, I don't know if you know, but the new rules that DeSantis put together with the insurance companies and your home and all that kind of stuff, he gave the companies the advantage, not us. He put us at a disadvantage. And the key now is that you hire the best lawyer possible. If you hire a crappy lawyer, you are not going to be in a good position. So you want to get somebody that is going to get the most for you. Please call Welt and Rheaume. I saw it firsthand. They attacked Progressive and freaking crushed them. And Progressive was not willing to pay what they were supposed to pay in order to fix our wall. And Welt and Rheaume brought them to their knees and got them to pay. And they've done it for other listeners here on our show. Several listeners, by the way, even one in Orlando. So call them. The consultation's free. So if something happened to you, bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, and you're not sure if you have a case, but if you don't ask, you'll never find out. And the consultation is free. 954-966-4646. Call Jeff Welt right now. Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume. They know how to get it done. They're in Hollywood, and they service everywhere, man. So call them. 954-966-4646.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.